Welcome to Super Soul Sisters. My name is Jamila Oluka and you're watching us here live on UBC TV Inspiring Uganda. It's yet another beautiful day to hear another beautiful story. But as I told you, as I always tell you, every story comes in its own unique perspective, with its own unique perspective. Today, it is one of those stories that I believe we've never had here on our show. Apart from when we had Nakata and Babiria, the ones who were deaf, who contested for Miss Super Soul Sisters in 2024. Other than that, we've not had any other person come here to talk about the hearing impairment, the deaf children, and what it takes for them to create awareness. So today I have one of the founders of DeafLink Uganda. She's Madam Nassozi Kiyaga, and she's the executive director. But leave that aside. I want to remind you this show runs every Wednesday, 9 p.m. I repeat on Friday, 11 a.m. And also you can get us on our social media handles so that you get to learn. So I am here with Madam Nassozi. I hope I've mentioned the name well. Correct. You know, for us, it is so we don't have the things of NN. It is Okelo, or Pio, or Akileng, or it is O and A. We don't have now. We don't have what. There's nobody whom I know is called Na, Barunji. What we have, Akelo, or Pio, or Polota. It is A and O. So now I would like to know from you, who is Nassozi Kiyaga?
My name's Nassozi Kiyaga. I was born in Kampala at that time. At the time I was born in Kampala, the place I was born was a village at that time. I grew up in a very big family unit, very loving parents. I am a Muganda by tribe, Nedira Mamba. Kabiro Muguya. And, I was raised in a very loving, consolidated family unit that put a lot of emphasis on growing up with cultural values. So that is one of the pillars of what I have become to date.
So you know how to make luwombo, you know, Baganda, you people, you eat and one saucepan can have so much in it, so much business. You're not like us, where if you come to my home, I can make for you a meal in even 20 minutes. I will do my kalo, give you, put nuts and tomatoes, or nuts and mukene, or even just nut paste alone, and you will eat within 15-20 minutes. But for you, I know your culture is so rich.
Yes, it's a culture, the food, the whole ethics of food preparation has a lot of a story of culture, and you know, the whole thing about beauty and the beauty and health that we derive from food and nutrition. So a lot of time is taken to simmer and to prepare a meal of love. So I think that is really what grounds us in long food preparation.
When I was at university, we had our lecturer called Madam Hamida Namutebi. I think she was Namutebi, yes. And she told us one time that in Buganda, food is cooked according to the mood. So since you are a traditional Muganda, I want to know, is that true?
It is very true. It is very true. But most of the time, whatever your mood, you have to put the temperament aside and just focus on giving that life-giving nourishment to the people who are going to enjoy the different types of meals that you prepare. So, mood aside, it has to be sumptuous, it has to be delicious. Absolutely, yes.
I would love to eat food from where you have cooked that the saucepan which has everything. Anyway, let's go back to your childhood. So, how was Kiyaga as a child? Let's say from the time you started understanding to the time you went to the primary school.
It's many years ago. But what I remember being born in a very loving, very nurturing environment. And because I had a hearing loss from childhood, I experienced a lot of love and care. Later on, I understood as I grew older that I actually had acute chronic otitis media. And this is very common among children from the age of 3 to 5. It's an ear infection that, if it's not treated, can lead to profound hearing loss. And it's actually one of the leading causes of hearing loss among children, not only in Uganda, but also in sub-Saharan Africa. So from an early age, I was, through most of my childhood, my parents gave me a lot of attention and care because of the hearing loss. And they gave me the treatment that I needed. They gave me the nourishing, they ensured that I had the best so that I would not be deprived as a child. And also growing up, because I had that hearing impairment, I had challenges in communication. So a lot of time, I remember sometimes when guests came home or relatives came to our home, which was very frequent, I used to hide because I never used to hear conversations. I would not hear very well. But I remember my father always used to say, "Omwana oyo aliwa, omwana oyo aliwa." Mumunonya je, abere mu bagenyi. So my parents all the time looked out for me to ensure that I was part of the family unit. And that people understood that I had a hearing loss, so they should speak louder, or they should ensure that I'm looking at them when they are communicating. So a lot of my childhood is really around the caring environment, loving environment, appreciating the kind of impairment that I had as a child, which actually boosted my self-confidence.
What about your friends? Like, because as a child, we have this thing in our cultures where children like stigmatize other kids. Like, for example, kids who are short. I was a very short child when I was growing up. They used to call me pygmy, 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 because children would call me that because I was short, not knowing I was going to grow tall the way I'm tall now. So we have those issues like in African culture where they say, "Oh, yo, taulira," like they stigmatize. So did you ever experience that as a child from your peers?
Actually, for mine was different, and I think every child with a hearing loss has a different experience, although primarily it is communication and exclusion. But in my case, I used to have, my ears used to have fluid that came out of them, but I used to have treatment. But I remember very vividly, because after I had surgery in Nairobi, I had to have hearing aids. But it was a cause for fascination amongst my peers. They used to think, what is I used to have these hearing aids behind the ear, and then I have something like a walkie-talkie. So it was very fascinating for them. And they used to think, maybe I'm a spy, I'm listening out to their conversation. So the whole mechanism, because it was not a common thing, hearing aids were not common at that time, really hardly ever seen in the public. So the kids used to see me like
they were curious.
Very curious, and something quite different. So a bit of admiration is there, because I had these gadgets, and they would ask me, can we listen and hear what is coming out of that? So it was really a point of more of fascination than more of a point of prejudice and stigma. I didn't experience that.
Wow, you are
so
lucky.
It was like, oh, we wish we were like you. We wish we also had those things. They didn't understand that actually.
And yet you also wished to be normal.
For the hearing loss. So that was for me. For my siblings, because you asked the question of friends, my brother who
How many are you? How many kids were you?
We're 10. But first we were a group of 5, and then I was followed with another younger siblings, a group of 5. So it was like I was very close to my brother, the one who I follow. And he looked out for me. And he made sure that, he always told me that if anyone teases you,
come to me.
And I will sort them out. So I knew I had that defense system always with me growing up as a child. It was a very wonderful, happy childhood.
Wow, interesting. So which schools did you go to for primary and secondary?
Primary, East Kololo. Then I moved to Chabirukwa at the tips of Uganda. And then I went to Nali Nyarwantale, where I completed my primary 7. And then I went to Namagunga, Mount St. Mary's, Namagunga, for all my 6 years.
The famous school,
Yeah.
the Namagunga.
Namagunga,
You must have been that very, very brilliant child.
Yes, like I told you, my father and my mother, they ensured that I had a very, very good education because they knew with my hearing loss, that was the one thing that they could give me that would help me in my life. And I honor them for investing so much in me, both in terms of medical care and also providing a very good education for me. Yes.
Wow, interesting. So now, when you let's say secondary, when you went to Namagunga, because you know there is being, were you in these schools that you were in primary? Were they boarding schools or day schools?
They were boarding school. East Kololo was a day school.
Yes, East Kololo I know is a day school. Then the other ones?
Then the other one, the rest of them were boarding school throughout.
So when you went to Namagunga, first tell us the experience. How was the experience? Because this is completely different from going to a girls' school.
Nali Nyarwantale was a girls' school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fully girls' school. It was a very good school. But my experience in Namagunga was that it had brought, a secondary school, as you know, it brought together children from so many different places in Uganda. So it was intriguing for me. I felt, my goodness, we had girls from Buganda Road who spoke high-flying English. Chitante Primary School.
That's so, then Chitante and Buganda Road, my God.
Buganda Road. So we were coming from Nali Nyarwantale. I was a bit intimidated by these high-flying, highly educated peers in the same school. But eventually, you know, you adjust. I think being young, you adjust quickly and you make new friends. And so school was a very good experience. And because Namagunga also follows a very Catholic kind of arrangement. So, you know, it's good behavior, it is discipline, it is respect for one another. So we also had that kind of to back up. So there was no, it's very hardly I remember that there was bad behavior amongst children. There was no teasing. So it was entirely right from senior 1. I had the best experience.
So who are your friends that you still have to date, that you met in Namagunga? Like 2 of them.
Sadly, I lost my best friend.
Oh,
she died last year. Agnes Katma, she was my best friend right from the beginning. But I wouldn't say that I have specific, I made so many friends because I think my character is so that I love to interact and, you know, make friendships. So to date, I've kept very many good friends.
From Namagunga,
yes.
And primary?
And primary, yes, I still have a few. Because they're all now scattered in different parts of the world. But yeah, it's good that now we are with the technology and WhatsApp, we're able to dig out all our friends
by the way,
from earlier years in our childhood.
So when you finished Namagunga, because you said you went there for O and A level,
yes.
Where did you go to?
Makerere University.
And what course did you do?
I took education, Bachelor of Arts with education, and I did specialize in English and English literature.
Wow.
And I always wanted to be a teacher. First, I wanted to be an artist.
So you had passion for teaching?
Yes. First, I wanted to be an artist because I could draw, and I could draw very well. And I thought I would pursue a career in art. But then on the first day when I went to art school at Makerere, they handed us, they gave us, it was like a still life that we had to draw. And a man who was half naked, you know, up, and they said, okay, here's a piece of paper and draw. So we had to draw in less than 30 minutes. And I looked at the professor with my blank sheet of paper, and I looked at the model, this man who was actually, you know, grown. I said, no.
This is not where.
This is not. I am an artist, but I don't think this test is. It takes me out. So it was in the first week, because they give you the first 2 weeks. They give you time to move from one course to another. The first choice and the second choice.
Wow.
Because my first choice
but
was
things
art.
are no longer there. Are they
Yes.
still there? No.
Because my first choice was art, bachelor's of art, you know. I decided, no, let me change quickly. So I had the flexibility.
So what scared you about them?
I just thought, if this is what art is all about,
then it's not for me.
I will do it as a hobby. But if it's this kind, I think I would rather shift to education. So I quickly went and changed course to education, which was also a very wonderful shift that I've loved and I've followed throughout.
One thing people say, people who study education fall anywhere.
Yes.
Anywhere. A teacher can do anything.
Absolutely.
Because we have here at UBC people who studied education and they are very good broadcasters. I've never had, I think I've had only one teacher here, two teachers who did not want to do education. They just ended up there. There's one who, if you know Honorable Victoria Sechitoleko.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, she said for her she wanted to do education, but for some reason she ended up doing agriculture. But somehow, she went back again to teach. So because it was passion.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you talk about education, I'm really excited to know more about. So when you went to do education, what happened then?
I did education and then I did my teaching practice at Nabingo.
The one of Mpiji?
Yes, Nabingo. Secondary school, which I really loved so much. And after that, I did a few things because I was, new teaching, stepping out into the working world. And then I ended up, quite shortly afterwards, I ended up going to South Africa, to Lesotho, where I got still a job as a teacher at in a school up in the highlands called Masiriban High School. And then that roller coasted into various, my path changed, because then I got a scholarship to go to England to study, and then that's where I stayed. And
what did you study in England?
I got a scholarship to study at University of Cambridge, to study literature in English. To study English literature.
English literature.
Yeah, at Cambridge. And it was a very, very, it's a great eye-opener, because coming from Uganda and then moving to Lesotho and working as a teacher and then coming to Europe, it was like a mind-blowing, really transforming experience to be in a totally different world. And yes, so it was great learning. And
especially literature. You go to the land of the
English
speaking.
Yeah. And it was not literature in English, because that's what I did at Makerere.
Yeah.
Literature in English means that you have literature from, West Africa, literature from Southern Africa.
I also did literature in O level and
literature
A level.
from America, but this English literature, only purely English.
Wow.
From England.
It's very exciting. I've never had someone in this show who is so passionate about English and literature. So you go to England to learn the literature in English.
Yeah.
Wow, English. That must have been very complicated.
Yes. Very, not complicated, because it was like a transition, because I had studied literature before anyway. So it was one transition from one type of, this world literature into a specific kind of area for English poetry, writers, and all that. So it was really great learning experience.
Great learning. So from there, where did you go to?
Then from there, at that time in England, it was very easy when you finish your studies. You could apply for a job. So I ended up, I landed in a job to work with the deaf-blind. And it is at that moment when I walked into a job center and I saw on a window thousands of jobs, and my eye went to one specific job, deaf-blind. And it took me back many years.
How you grew up?
My hearing loss. And I thought, this is what I have to do. This is where I have to be.
Let's go for a break. We'll come back and start from there, because now I want us to understand how you ended up there and what made you, become a CEO of the Deaf Link Uganda. For now, I want us to go for a break, but we shall be right back in just a few. Welcome back to Super Soul Sisters. My name is Jamila Oluka and you're still watching us here live on UBC TV Inspiring Uganda. Before we went for a break, we're here in the verge of entering to talk about DeafLink Uganda. But before I bring her in, I want to remind you that this show runs every Wednesday 9 p.m. I repeat, on Friday 11 a.m. And also you can get us on our social media handles so that you get to know who has been on the show, different people, different ladies with their stories that you can adapt, that you can learn, that can inspire you, because every story has a lesson to learn from. So kindly visit our YouTube channel and other channels, even TikTok. You get a glimpse of what happened in our previous shows. So Madam Nassozi Kiyaga, you enter in a place and there are so many jobs listed. Yeah. And your mind zeroed down on deaf and blind.
Deaf and blind. So I go into the job center and I say, this is the job that I want to do. And the gentleman says, they are closing, the interviews are closing today. Wow. Run. And fortunately, it was very near. It's very near the job center. So I took off. And I was the last person to be interviewed. And fortunately, the following day I got a message to say that I had succeeded and I was employed by Sense Southeast as a support worker with the deaf-blind. So that's how it all started.
So from there, because now, so how did you, because you worked with the deaf and the blind, so what led to the birth of DeafLink Uganda?
The birth of DeafLink Uganda still has its roots in that experience, because then I started to become aware about my own challenges that I had as a child, growing up with a hearing loss, going to school with a hearing loss, and all the different barriers that I faced, although I was able to overcome. So that experience and working with the deaf in England made me feel so strongly about coming back home. So I came back home and I felt that if deaf people in England can face different challenges that were quite severe, what about deaf people in Uganda? So
third world country.
Third world country, difficult, no resources, lack of education. So I became very curious and I wanted to find out. I wanted to find the deaf, because the first deaf person I met was a white person, was in England. So I wanted to meet the deaf people. So I came back to Uganda. I came back in the summer of that time to go and find deaf people. And the first place I went to, which was very close to my home, was Uganda School for the Deaf. And that started off my interaction with deaf children and the deaf community. And I still went back to England and I worked, and then I decided to take studies, seriously study deafness. So I did studies at different universities, different colleges, and then ended up going to Gallaudet in the United States, and I did a master's in deaf education. And it's from there that eventually I decided now I want to go home and work with the deaf.
How long had you worked abroad so that you decided?
In total, it came to nearly 15 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
In total. But I kept coming back home.
But in that time, did you have children? Did you get married?
No, I stayed. I stayed the way I am, still single and without a family. But I was so much inspired and so much. I couldn't see anything that I could do better in my life than work with the deaf. So after my studies in the US, my master's for 2 years, I went to India and worked as a volunteer, an independent volunteer for 4 years, working with different organizations for deaf people. And these experiences outside my own home country, Uganda, exposed me to the different challenges and the different intensity that deaf people experience. So it gave me a wholesome understanding from the depth of challenges that deaf people could face. I at least had an interaction from different parts of the world that I could bring back home, a wholesome experience, including my own personal experience, to work and serve in this my career was triggered to the founding of DeafLink Uganda in 2007. Can you tell us some of the stories you've read before? Some of the titles of the stories? Today we did Jomo's Gift. What is the second story? Jomo's Twin. We did Jomo's Twin. We did Hide and Seek. We did Hide and Seek, story called Hide and Seek. We did the playing game with the wheels. We did Spotty. Spotty, who ate many mangoes and got a lot of bumps and pimples all over her body. Wow, that's very wonderful. That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
So now you come back to Uganda and you start DeafLink Uganda. So what were the things you're looking at changing? Having got experience from the globe.
The experience that I had and I brought back home, number one, made me believe that to be able to, because there are so many challenges in education, there's so many challenges in communication that deaf people experience. The number one biggest challenge is attitudes towards deafness, cultural prejudice, stigma, abuse. That you find that deaf people and deaf children are subject to abuse because of their deafness. So the first thing that I wanted to do is to expose societies and our communities to create awareness that actually the stigma that we are all embedded in is actually wrong. It's an abuse and an insult to a category of people who deserve better. So the first thing that I actually felt that I wanted to do is to bring on board deaf people themselves, because I felt they should be the champions of their own cause. So started working with collecting various young deaf people in different categories, and we started teaching. We started with life skills training, because a lot of deaf people had not been to school, so they needed kind of training in various things like finance management, English literacy, and all different sorts of things. So we started as a CBO. The organization began as a CBO, community-based organization, and we would just go out and meet families of the deaf. We would meet and interact. The deaf would share their stories. They would share their experiences. A lot of stigma, a lot of marginalization, some within their families. Many had faced a lot of assault and insults. So we wanted to address those things, but also it was a platform of like a counseling. Because deaf people, because of the fact that they communicate differently, and many people, they are not understood. So this DeafLink Uganda created a platform where they could express their feelings, they could express and share experiences, and then together we could discuss what kinds of interventions are needed, are required for us to move forward. So that's how it all started, being led by the deaf, the deaf people being at the forefront of the different types of interventions that we provide to this marginalized community.
Wow. Now, recently, you invited us to the School of the Deaf in Tinda, and you had an activity there. What do these activities mean to these children?
DeafLink Uganda has a partnership with Schools for the Deaf in Uganda, but one of our very strong partnerships is with the Uganda School for the Deaf. And the reason for that is because we also sponsor children. One of our programs is to sponsor deaf children to go to school, because many families don't believe that a deaf child can be educated. So we sponsor children who are coming from marginalized background, disadvantaged backgrounds, to have access to education. So education is one of our programs that we provide and support provide to young deaf children. And this activity, reading, is one of the key components that enables young deaf children to have access to learning. So we decided together with the Uganda School for the Deaf to provide supplementary reading sessions for young deaf children. And what does this mean? It means that the activity is out of class. It is not like one of the curriculum subjects that children are studying in the classroom, but it is to introduce reading to deaf children so that they can acquire a culture of reading. They can get exposure to stories. They can have exposure because we use a deaf instructor. The deaf instructor is teaching in sign language, and the deaf instructor becomes a role model for young deaf children. So this activity gives opportunities for deaf children to be exposed to reading. It gives them opportunities to become creative learners. It gives them opportunities to develop self-confidence. It gives them opportunities to communicate and to tell their stories, just like we are telling, just like Soul Sisters is giving opportunities to women to come and tell the stories. We want deaf people right from childhood to begin acquiring skills of sharing and expressing their stories, not in a spoken way, not in a verbal way like you and I are talking, but through sign language. So this storytelling gives deaf children opportunities to self-express, to talk about their lives, to talk about the things that they have seen, to read stories, to give them opportunities to acquire language. Because, and we're working in lower primary, we're working with from primary 1, 2 and 3.
Oh,
this
the
is
young,
lower,
the young ones who are being nurtured into reading.
Yes, early. So this is a very key component in early intervention for young deaf children, because many deaf children begin school without any language. They come from families that don't communicate, that don't know sign language. Most parents, majority of parents who have deaf children don't know how to communicate to their children. So the children are psychologically deprived of language, and their first encounter of sign language is school. So we want to boost the intake of language in the very early years of children as they are growing up. Not only does it help them to acquire language or boost their communication skills, but it also somehow has an impact on their learning. But the reading we do is actually reading for fun also.
I saw when we're at the deaf school of the deaf, I saw children very excited about that story. I think what was the name of the book?
Jomo's Gift.
Jomo's Gift, and they were all attentive. And one of the people, he's called Ismail. The instructors, Ismail.
Yes.
Is that one of the people that you sponsored?
Yes. Ismail is one of the beneficiaries of the education program. Was sponsored from when he was in senior 2 at Wachiso Secondary School for the Deaf. So that is also one of the components for DeafLink Uganda. When we sponsor a deaf child and they make it in life, we bring them back to support the organization programs. So Ismail Mutumba is back as a mentor for other deaf children.
And how do children perceive him?
He's like a star for them. He's like a role model, like I said. He's like a role model. He's like a mentor. He's a friend, because he's passing on a skill. He's passing on knowledge. He's passing on language through the primary mode of communication, which is sign language for young deaf children. So he's really like he's an inspiration for young deaf children, and I know that they aspire to become like him. The way he tells stories is very vivid. It's very beautiful, that no one else, no hearing person can tell a story
in the
best like a deaf person does.
Because I saw when he was telling a story, there was this child, I don't know, maybe you know the name, who came and described the story, and he was so enthusiastic, he was so into it, and I personally watched from the distance, and I was like, wow, I knew the story, but just the way he was expressing, and I could get some of the things.
Yes,
you know.
Yes. So that's the beauty that we want to expose to children, and they feel the sense of self-pride. They feel value. They feel that I can make it. I can do anything that any hearing person does. But the storytelling brings everything out from a deaf child. The beauty of sign language. It brings out potential, because deaf people are so highly gifted, are so highly talented. But sadly, our societies are so ignorant. That the understanding of deafness is so limited that people think a deaf person
is
like
stupid.
Like even the words that are used in our indigenous languages, Luganda, Kasiru.
Auntie, the stupid, ebang. We call it not as ebang.
Ateso, ebang. In Kiswahili, bubu.
Bubu,
all these are very abusive,
skia.
negative words that undermine a human being who actually has great potential, great intelligence, that we have not even taken time to understand the abilities of this person. Give the opportunity, and then the rest of it is history, because this person will excel beyond your imagination. So this is what DeafLink Uganda is trying to do.
Today, we've come here to visit you so that we see what activities you do with DeafLink Uganda. I see DeafLink is focused on the deaf, but I also noticed there were some children a bit who I think autistic and blind. Do you also cater for such categories?
We actually, because the school brings in all different types of children, but primarily deaf. And it's a common thing, because you find a child who is deaf, but they have additional disabilities. So all these children, we cater for them. Within the school environment, the school has children who are deaf and autistic, have children who have dual disabilities. So as long as they are within the school system, they're all on the same platform. They're all on the same.
But
on board.
Doctor, I wanted to know. You have a doctorate in this. Master's degree. You should do a PhD. It's good to call you doctor, because how many doctors do we have who have done who have specialized in deaf?
We have Uganda. Dr. Chinji, who is deaf himself.
Yes.
Yeah, Chambogo University, and that is excelled. Studied from different parts of, but he's deaf.
Yes.
Yes.
We need another female so that we profile you properly. The first ever female doctor addressing the issues. You know how someone would introduce you in a podium to talk about deaf. It would be very nice. But anyway, coming back to what you were saying, how do you guys handle children who are blind and deaf at the same time? Especially now that you're telling these stories, don't they feel left out?
No. And also, that all these impairments, all the disabilities have degrees. There is no one who is completely. Yeah, that's the degree of hearing loss differs in each individual. And those who have hearing impairment, they can have some hearing in one ear, like myself. I cannot hear from this ear, but I can hear very well. The children who are profoundly deaf and the users of sign language. But the children who are admitted at the school, if they have deafness, they will have visual impairment. So they are not completely blind.
Okay.
They are not. They have some vision.
They can see, but it's blurry.
Yeah, they can see. So I think you noticed one of the kids in the school who is deaf, and she tried to read this, to bring this book very close so that she can see. So there is some kind of visual loss, but it's not profound vision loss, because otherwise that leads to another kind of intervention. Requires another type of intervention.
DeafLink Uganda, what are some of the, apart from Ntinda, School of the Deaf, do you partner with all the schools? of the deaf?
Currently, we are also partnering with Masaka School for the Deaf and Ngora School for the Deaf.
Oh, I know.
And at Ngora, we are sponsoring 2 children there at the school, at the primary school. So currently, we are partnering with the 3: Uganda School for the Deaf, Masaka School for the Deaf, and Ngora School for the Deaf, because our capacity does not allow us to take on a lot. So currently, that's where we are at. But we have many other partners who are in the same field, in the field of disabilities. So we work together, particularly because persons with disabilities have different types of challenges that, one organization cannot address. But when we come together, we are stronger. When we come together, we advocate for, equal rights. We advocate for inclusion. We advocate for recognition of the talents of a human being that cannot be limited by prejudice. So we try to work together to overcome cultural stigma and stereotypes, which have been the leading cause of backwardness in Uganda, which have been the leading cause of, the country not progressing. Because we take groups of people, we take populations of very, very intelligent people, like the deaf, without even investigating the abilities, and we stigmatize them, and we stereotype them, and we exclude them, and we abuse, not knowing that actually when you abuse one single human being, you're abusing the whole nation. You're abusing the whole human race.
Even your children, because these are people who are related, these are families.
Yes,
that
and they have a contribution to make as individuals to themselves, so that they are not dependent on anyone else. Give them education, give them opportunities to employment, and you see the nation thrive. But the minute you start putting barriers in front of people just because of ignorance, then the entire country loses out on a very special population.
Madam Nassozi, another thing I want to know, what advice, as we are winding up the show, are you going to give to parents? Because I have quite some associates that I talk to. They have schools where they have children who have maybe hearing impairment, but the parents do not want to accept. And yet these kids need maybe special attention. So you who has studied this intensively, in detail, who understands what a deaf person goes through, and also you having a bit of experience in that, lived experience, what advice can you give to the parents of children who have hearing impairment, to leaders, and also to the community, as you deal, because I see how you were dealing with these children, it was so passionate. The ones of the school of that day.
Number one, the parents, because the home is the nurturing environment for every one of us. That is where we begin our life. And unfortunately, many children come from families, many children who are deaf come from families that don't accept them within their family. So the stigma begins from the home. So my advice to parents, and many parents also have this, the cultural stigma, the social stigma also has a way it kind of infiltrates in human beings, because then the parent says, they feel ashamed having a disabled child. They feel ashamed. What will the relatives think? What will the society think? Or my child is cursed. I am a curse. So kind of there is always this, the parents suffer denial of accepting that this is the child that I have brought into the world. Because the denial of accepting that child is what starts the problems within the family of exclusion. So my advice to parents, if you notice, parents know, particularly mothers, they sense, because all the children that we have, worked with, all the families, it is the mothers who will tell you. I noticed something. When I called this child, they did not respond. So they start to tell you, the mother will start to tell you, go back in the childhood of that child, and they will start to explain what they sensed, even without a medical test. The mothers will sense. So if the parent senses that there is something wrong with the child in terms of their hearing capacity, take the next step. Take the child for a test to hospital, to a nearby hospital. And I know many parents may not be able to afford, because a lot of parents that we work with come from rural areas where there are no medical facilities. But as much as possible, take the next step to find out what is the problem with this child. And then, right from the family unit, even without expenditure, accept the child that you have. Because any child that you bring into the world is of value. It's your responsibility. Is of value. And you are the bringer, you are the one who opens the doors. Because if you close the door for your child, the world will not accept the child. That is when you find that many deaf children come into the world where they are not accepted. But if you love your child, irrespective of ability or disability, they will be a very formidable human being. So that is the first step. Parents to overcome their feelings of stigma, to overcome the stereotype. Just forget about what the world thinks. Be the champion of your child. Be the first advocate, because you're bringing the child into the world. Be the first advocate for your child. And then, with all the networks that we have, we always come together counseling for parents, because also parents they're not discriminating the child because they
but they also get frustrated. You don't know how to talk to that child.
There. Yes, frustration is there. But that's a sensible human emotion. But the most important thing that when parents accept, when you accept that this is a child I have and love the child, irrespective of the disability that they have, that is the first point that opens the child to opportunities. To the community has to end stigma, stereotype. We need to have a Ugandan community that is aware that deafness is not a disease. Deaf people comprise a linguistic minority. They have a language, they have a sign language, and they are full human beings. The only thing that they cannot do is hear, but they are. So let's accept them. Let us embrace deafness as one of our cultural diversity, a group of people who add a lot to our Uganda's cultural diversity. That's I think will open up opportunities for so many children who have hearing loss.
Wow, interesting. So as we wind up, what is your quote that you want everyone, every time they hear about Madame Kiyaga, they know that that is what she believes in and that's what we should take home?
The quote that I could give is, deaf people can do anything hearing people do, except hear.
Wow.
Deaf people can do anything hearing people can,
except
hear.
So as we wind up the program, I would like to thank you again, Madame Nassozi Kiyaga, for coming up to share one of the unique stories that I believe everyone out there should understand. DeafLink Uganda is one of those organizations that tries to, teach people about deaf, children who are deaf, people who are deaf, and also bring them to speed with the rest of us. Because as she said, deaf people can do everything that a normal person can do apart from hearing. So let's keep that in mind. When you meet someone who is deaf, don't say, bang, mulalu, uyo iko bubu, this one is what. They like doing these things. And these are people who have feelings just like you. And for you parents, when you notice that your child has issues with hearing, take the child for tests and find for that child a school that can accommodate that disability. Most of us tend to leave these children at home, and yet these children, you might find you're leaving a doctor at home, you're leaving someone who is going to contribute to our country. Because so many of these deaf kids are very brilliant. People are brilliant, just that because they cannot hear does not mean that they do not have all the capabilities that you have. Absolutely. So let's take that in context, but also above it all, thank you so much for watching the show. I would like to appreciate our viewers, first of all, the production team, our camera guys, the editors, and also our MD and the entire team of UBC for making sure that this program airs and women issues are brought to perspective and our women are represented in Uganda here at UBC TV. My name is Jamila Oluka. See you next time. Bye-bye.